Hey guys, I'm Annika Sabine, and I grew up in the Arctic. Before we get into it, please make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out. Mama, I cried, but my mom just turned and walked away, ignoring me. She disappeared into the blizzard, and that was the only memory I had of her. After she abandoned me, I was devastated. But I decided I wasn't going down without a fight. I was determined to survive. I was about 16 years old. I had just returned from fishing when I noticed smoke coming out of my igloo. I don't care. You need to leave. But then I hesitated because suddenly Saki was leaning to one side, and then he just collapsed. My uncle and I used to live just over those mountains. But 2 days ago, he slipped and fell off a ledge. He didn't make it. I'm so sorry. My uncle told me I had family in a place called England, and we used to have a radio, but that broke down. I was stranded, and I was never the best at survival, so I started walking to look for help. Then I found you, while my mind was still trying to process what an England was. Noises sounded from outside. What is that? We stayed quiet and listened. Then my blood turned cold. Polar bears. Oh no, you stay here. No, I can help. I didn't wait for his reply and ran out of the igloo. I was right. We were surrounded, they roared fiercely, and I started swinging to try and fight them off. But they were too much for me. I was overwhelmed. One of them lunged for my throat. I closed my eyes, accepting my fate. Then, suddenly, I heard a squeal, and all the polar bears scattered. I turned to see Saki standing in front of me, protecting me. Saki. He turned and smiled down at me. I realized just how cute he was. Are you okay? He helped me up, and we just stared at each other for a moment. I had this sudden urge to hug him, or even kiss him. But before anything more could happen, a plane appeared, flying really low toward us. Saki and I stared in shock. I'd never seen a plane before. I was speechless. Is it a rescue team? Maybe. But my words were snatched away by the wind from the plane's blades as it came plummeting toward us. We screamed and dove out of the way just in time. A second later, and we would have been minced meat. The plane lost control and crashed into the icy ground. Oh my God, a giant cloud of smoke rose into the air. Saki and I took one look at each other and started sprinting towards the crash. We arrived and searched desperately for any survivors. Over here, I followed Saki's voice and found him pulling out a woman. She looked like she was in her 40s. For some reason, I felt like I recognized her, but I shook the thought away. Together, we dragged her out of danger. We double-checked, but she was the only one on board. What do we do now? We have to bring her back home. Saki lifted the woman in his arms, and we headed back. We carried her back, but for days the woman remained unconscious, in some sort of coma. Meanwhile, Saki and I cared for her. One day I entered the igloo with a bundle of wood I'd just cut. As I stepped in, I tripped on a blanket and went tumbling forward. But just then, Saki appeared like some kind of prince and caught me before I could fit. I held on to him, and we just stared at each other for a moment. Our lips were inches apart, and I felt myself moving closer. Where am I? We turned to find the woman sitting up in bed, wide-eyed. Where am I? She repeated. I quickly pushed away from Saki and knelt by her side. You're in the Arctic. The Arctic, yes, I said gently. It's okay. Suddenly she looked at us. Who are you? I'm Saki. The woman then looked at me. You're Annika. I was taken aback. How did you know my name? She blinked, then quickly looked away. I heard that guy say your name. Oh, I cleared my throat. Look, you're probably in shock. You crash-landed in a plane. Do you remember what happened? The woman hesitated. I was flying towards Greenland. Greenland, that's a country near here. I'm a journalist, you see? A journalist. Wow, yeah. What's your name? Mandy, she said. Mandy, Sandy. Mandy, Sandy. Nice name. Soon, Mandy became part of the little family we'd built. Except Saki and I did most of the work. Mandy just sat around like some kind of princess. Mandy, can you help me light the fire? No, I'm so tired from helping with the fishing. You didn't even do anything. You just sat there and complained. It was very tiring complaining. Why, I ought to say held me back. Annika, don't. Just ignore her, but she's so annoying. I know, but if we want to survive, we have to work together. Fine, Sake could be so righteous sometimes. It was annoyingly adorable. The next day, I had to say goodbye to Sake. He was taking a trip to the eastern end of the valley to look for more food, since we were experiencing shortages after Mandy joined us. He would be gone for 2 days, and I was dreading it. Just be safe, okay? Sake pulled his bag over his shoulder, flashing that beautiful smile. Of course. Try not to murder Mandy. Okay. I'll try. I hesitated, then hugged him tightly. Before we pulled away, I gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. He smiled and brushed my forehead with a finger. See you soon. I waved goodbye as he left. Where is he going? Mandy must have just woken up. I groaned inwardly. Great. Now I was stuck with Her Majesty. He'll be back soon. How soon? Why did she care? 2 days. I looked at Mandy strangely, then grabbed my own bag. I'm heading to your crash site. I'll be back in a few hours. Why are you going there? Was it just me, or did she sound a little panicked, just looking for supplies? Geez, what's with all the questions? I said goodbye and took off. For some reason, I felt like Mandy was hiding something from me. Half an hour later, I arrived at the crash site plane, debris still scattered on the ground. It was so creepy, I started rummaging through anything that looked salvageable when I came upon what looked like a purse. This must be Mandy's. I opened it up and sure enough, it had something that must have been money, credit cards, and an ID. I glanced at the ID, but what I saw made my blood run cold instead of the name. Mandy Sandy, like she told us. The ID said her real name was Mandy Sabine. That was my last name. Why did Mandy have it? The same last name as me. Was that a coincidence? No, it couldn't be. The fact that she lied proved that she was hiding it from me, but why? What? Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Mandy, I knew. I recognized her from somewhere. Mandy was my mum. You shouldn't have come here. Annika, I spun around. Mandy, my mum. She stood there grimly. You're go on, say it. You're my mum. Mandy smiled, but it lacked all warmth. Yep, but I don't understand. Why are you here? Why did you abandon me? Mandy sighed. She turned to me because I hated you. I winced. I hated you, and I didn't want you. You ruined my life. I could have been a model at Victoria's Secret fashion show, but no, you just had to come along and ruin my body. I worked as a journalist, instead a stupid, boring job, but one day my work took me over to the Arctic. That's when I saw my chance. I dumped you here like the worthless thing that you are, and I left you, and I don't regret my decision. One bit. You're a monster. It's nothing personal, just business. But why are you back here then if you hate me so much? Why did you come back? Mandy rubbed her face. That's the only annoying part of my plan. You survived. You weren't supposed to do that, you know. Now you're all over the news. Some satellite or something spotted you here all on your own. I knew I had to come back and dispose Of you before anyone found out what I did dispose of me. Oh my God, my mother really was a monster. How could I be related to her? Yep, sorry, honey. Mandy lifted a spear from behind her back. The world will never know. Suddenly, anger coursed through my veins. How could life be so unfair? No, I won't let you win. I stamped my foot on the carpet. I slowly stood up, placing my feet carefully on the ground. But as I did, a crack appeared right beneath me. Mandy froze too, her eyes wide as the crack quickly spread and widened by the second. She started backing away. I looked around and a cold realization hit me. We were on a frozen lake. How could I have missed that? Mandy stumbled as she backed away, sending even more cracks shooting across the fragile surface. Mandy, wait, I screamed, but it was too late. Suddenly, the floor just seemed to disappear and I plummeted into the icy water below. I screamed as the cold bit into my skin like razor-sharp blades. I managed to push myself up and grab onto the edge of the ice, but I couldn't pull myself out. Mandy, help, I pleaded. She just stood there, watching me flail about, fighting for breath. Mandy, I'm your daughter. She looked away. I'm sorry, Annika, but I can't let you ruin my life. Then, my mother turned around, abandoning me yet again. My grip on the ice slipped, and I fell back into the water, fully submerged. Blackness filled my vision. I was drowning. As I drifted closer to death, my mind went to Saki's smile, his kind heart. I would miss him so much. Then, a hand grabbed my collar and yanked me out of the freezing water. I gasped for air's sake. He had rescued me, pulling me back onto the solid ice. Annika. He took off his coat and bundled me up in the warm fur. My teeth chattered as I looked at him gratefully. Thank you, Saki. But my relief was shrived suddenly. Mandy appeared again, brandishing her spear. She charged right at us. Mandy bulldozed towards us, but she slipped on the ice. Instead of hitting me, she dropped the spear and fell headfirst through the very hole I had just been pulled from. Mandy. We scrambled to rescue her, but by the time we got there, she was already gone. Saki grabbed hold of me and held me tight. I closed my eyes. As long as Saki was here, I knew I was all right.